Welcome to Sew Very Easy. My name is Laura and summertime is coming and I want to set that summer off with a nice tropical party. Some tropical drinks, some tropical foods. So that will mean I will need some tropical accessories. So I'm going to make some napkins and some coasters for my drink glasses. So for my tropical party, I'm going to use fabric by Canvas, and it is called Tropical Escape. It has everything we're going to want. Beautiful colors for drinks, some sunglasses. We do need some flip-flops, beautiful flowers, sceneries. So let's start with the coasters. For every coaster, I'm going to need 6 5-inch squares. The coasters are folded coasters, so I'm going to need 4 pieces for the top of the coaster, 1 for the lining and 1 for the backing, and a little scrap of batting, and I like to cut mine at 4.5 inches. I'm going to take the 4 top pieces and bring them to the iron, and I'm going to iron them and sort of pre-glue them before everything goes together. All of the pieces are going to be pressed the same way. The first thing we're going to do is press them in half on the diagonal. And then take any type of child's glue stick and just glue that end down. We're going to need 2 pins onto our pressing mat. And we're going to put those pins, about 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch up to the top. This doesn't have to be exact. Now we're going to take that and press it over and press. That's all we need to do for that little corner. We're going to do that to all 4 pieces. We're going to now put those folded pieces onto one of our fabrics. And we're going to put those folded pieces so the fold is facing down and the raw corners are going to match. For the first one, we can just put a little bit of glue in that one corner. So I have one light one, I'm going to do a dark one, and the dark one is going to go in that second corner. And for here, I can glue 3 corners. That fold is still going down. The glue is just taking the place of pins. The next one will be a light one, and it'll go on corner 3. So I can glue these 3 corners and move that little point out of the way. I do like to stick that corner one down first. Make sure that that's rolled inside and match up those corners. The next one is going to go in this last corner, but we're going to take this first piece and just flip it up out of the way. And we're going to glue 1, 2, and 3 corners. I'm going to glue that point down first. Make sure that's rolled inside. Glue down that corner. Now I can finish gluing down this little point. I just want to make sure those little corners are tucked inside, and the edges do not have to be exact, just close. Now I'm going to just give it a little bit of a press so that glue sets. So one corner went on, the second one, the third one, and the fourth one, we lifted up that first one and tucked it in underneath. The next thing we're going to do is flip this over. We're going to need to put on that little piece of batting and this top piece. But before we put this piece on, if we're going to turn it into a circle, we're going to make that circle shape now. Now I will be using a 4.5 inch circle. So I'm just going to place that over top and trace my circle. Now I'm going to be able to place that on top. Having that batting a little bit smaller means I'm just going to be able to square that up a lot better. And I like to give it a little bit of a compress with the iron. And now I can take it to the machine and stitch around that circle. So I have those edges tucked in. And you can see the good side of the fabric here, and you can see the good side of the fabric here. So let's go stitch all the way around. And I would recommend doing really small stitches. It's just easier to turn the corners that way. Once we've done that stitching, if you'd like, you can go in and trim off some of that quilt batting. I like to trim it as close as I can to the stitching line. We do have a lot of thickness, so I do like to grade my seams. And that means one seam is going to be different than the other seam. So they're going to be like little steps. So the one I will trim off to be an itsy bitsy little seam. Machine embroidery scissors really work good for this. From here we can just separate that next layer. That glue is just to hold it temporarily. And now I'm going to make that seam just a little bit bigger. And the last seam, which will be all of those folded edges, I will cut just a little bit bigger still. So when we look at the seams, they're going to look like little steps. One seam is just a little bit bigger than the other. Now you do not need to grade your seams, but by doing that, it's going to help the bulk evenly distribute when we do get to turn it right side out. And we get to do that now. All 4 of those corners are going to come out. Get a point turner and just roll those seams right to the edge. And that is the finished coaster. So that original backside will show up in this inside. So this inside one was the one that we drew the circle on. Now we can give it one more good press, and some steam will work great for this. And if you have a clapper, you could definitely use that. It just helps set that heat. We now have these little pretty curves coming on the outside. So I'm going to be making 6 of these coasters and 6 napkins. And for the napkins, I'll be using a fat quarter, and I'm going to take that fat quarter and make sure it is square. I just like the way square napkins look after. From here, I'm just going to do a little rolled seam all the way around, which means I'm going to do a tiny little roll and then roll one more time and stitch along the edge and do all 4 corners. So the napkins will just have a nice simple finish, and the coasters can be used just as they are, or you can put the cups inside and they fit right easily in those curves. So if you're walking around, you can carry that coaster with you, so you do not need to worry about losing it. It is also a way of identifying your glass. But if you're not walking, you can always put the coaster down. They will fit a variety of different glasses. And I like to just take that napkin and just grab it from the center, just pull it over. And for the smaller glasses, I just fold that up and stick it inside. For the taller glasses, I will just need to take that and put it right inside. If you have a glass that you cannot put the napkin in, fold that napkin in half and just roll it up. And give a little tie. And now my fun tropical plate is ready to serve. And if you like to send your guests home with something, they can always take that napkin and that coaster home with them, and they'll have a memory of an enjoyable evening. So I have done this in Tropical Escape, but we could do this in any different season. Christmas, Easter, there's a lot of different things that we could do this with. It's definitely a fun project, and it's just as much fun to look at and use. And thank you for joining me today on Sew Very Easy. Feel free to subscribe. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I do have a newsletter. It's all free under Sew Very Easy. Cheers.